Welcome to another episode of Women in Focus. We're going to be introducing you to a very interesting young woman. I met her 25 years ago, and probably in my heart, or maybe to her, I predicted that she's going to be a very well-known person and in public eye and all that. And today, it's my pleasure to introduce Navi Gill to you, who is a prosecutor, who is in the legal profession, and we're interviewing her after 25 years. 25 years ago, she interviewed me. Most welcome in our program. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you for having me. And I'm so happy to be here.
Okay.
And I'm well, thank you.
So let's go back 25 years.
25
Why did you come to us at that time?
Well, first, I think I should preface this interview with saying that any views, any opinions are mine and mine alone, and they don't represent any of my employers. So there you have it.
Fantastic. We've never had anybody do a disclaimer right in the beginning of the program. I'm glad you did that.
Thank you.
And all the views that I am expressing in this program are mine. Mine alone and nobody else's.
So 25 years ago, I remember I was taking women's studies.
Okay.
And 25 years ago, the nature of the essay I had to write was to discuss a person that I found influential in our community, and someone that I was inspired by, and someone I aspired to be like. And so I thought of you. I remember I did that paper. We had a really nice time. I learned a lot. And I ended up getting an A on that paper.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, it's your writing skills that got you an A.
Oh, I think I had a pretty great subject to write about.
Were you born here, Navi?
So
let's take you back to your childhood then.
Okay. Well, so I was born in Vancouver. I'm the eldest of three, right? And my mom was a math teacher from India.
Right.
And my dad, he came over from India as well, and he was a part of the business community for a bit.
Yes.
And yeah, and then I studied. Education was big.
You know, Indian families always have education as the central focal point for their children. You got to do your studies. You know, you got to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer. So you chose lawyer.
Well, you know, now this is a very interesting reality.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as much as I was inspired and aspired to be like you, in the sense of your amazing ability to connect to people. All right. So, and your ability to connect and be able to ask great questions. Right. The interviewing technique, the style. So, when back. In my formative years, in my childhood, in elementary school, I recalled watching a movie. It was Gandhi, and I don't know if you remember. It was a big hit.
It was.
And there was a scene in that movie where Mahatma Gandhi is forced off a train. And I recall that scene very vividly because it resonated very deeply with me. Now, we have to remember, I'm from the 70s, and this is into the 80s.
Yes.
And so that sense of justice, innate sense of justice, was instilled in me at a very young age. And then that movie resonated very strongly with me because I realized that education was the only way to, you know, without sounding too cliche, but it's the only way to emancipate yourself, right?
100%.
So for me, education was a way to emancipate myself from certain circumstances, and it also, very quickly I learned it became a #1 equalizer.
Wow.
For me.
Right.
Right? And my mom always taught me that, they say in Punjabi, parai tapasya hai. Right? Which means that studying is like a prayer.
Right.
And I learned that at a very young age. So I was always listening. I was very curious about people. I have a
very inquisitive mind.
Well, I have a tremendous respect for life.
Right.
Right? And which is why I've done what I've done, and I'm staying there. And I wanted to come back and visit you to see you. I mean, I can't believe how long, you know, Shushma ji, we were talking about you and your amazing staff and your team. And now how long have you folks been?
The three of us? 20 years, 21. This is our 21st year together. And we, I think, are the oldest camera crew and host. Osa and Chris, our husband and wife team. And I, the three of us, we go along. I mean, due to COVID, we are in the studio and we are interviewing you in the studio. We are forbidden to go out and meet people. But we would be carrying the equipment and going to people's houses, women's houses, and interviewing them. And it's been a lovely affair with the two of them, my affair with them. It's a, what should I say? It's satisfying. It's invigorating to see Chris and Osa continue at my age. They're both older to me, right? So them being so active keeps me active. So, you know, hats off to them.
Oh, it's a great team. It's
Lovely
a great team.
I want to take you to your time. There must have been a moment in your life when the light bulb went on and you said, yeah, I want to get into the legal profession. So I want to take you there, but let's take a very short commercial break and come back and talk to you. Navi Gill is our woman in focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Navi Gill is our woman in focus today. So we were talking about childhood and, you know, Mom saying that education is like a prayer, tapasya, which is more than a prayer. It's like, you know, you meditate, you take it all in. It is you. So there must have been, I mean, education was very important in your household, was very, very important for you too. But there must have been a time, apart from that incident that you related about the movie Gandhi, is that when you felt that you want to be a lawyer?
You know, I brought my autograph book here from elementary school.
Yeah.
And in it, there's, you know, every year back in those days, we would all write in each other's books saying, you know, hags, have a great summer, see you next year. And I found this because in grade 7, a friend of mine wrote, I hope the next time I see you, you'll be a lawyer. And that was in grade 7. So a flashbulb memory for me is I recall in grade 6, to about grade 4 to grade 6, I always spoke my mind. And I always, you know, I always advocated for things that I really believe. I did not like inequities. I really didn't. And I really came from a place where I saw everyone equal in a village. I had that mentality. And so at a very young age, I just naturally became an advocate without even realizing it. And even when I saw my mom and I saw my dad, and I would see certain things happen in the community at large. Things were very different then, right? In the 80s, things were very different than they are now. And we're still progressing as a society. So I knew very clearly then that I needed to get a legal education for myself so that I could do the best that I could for myself, but also for the next generation. I just had that in me, Shushma ji, at a very young age. My mom would even tell you, like, I was always, I just loved people. I just liked everybody. And I was just always like, and I still am like that.
You said equalizer, so I like that term. And you see yourself as that.
I'll be honest, I don't, because I think I'm just such a busy worker. But others do tell me that. I really see myself as an extension as a vehicle of good work to happen through me. Right? So, and I have to always remember every day, one step at a time, and especially in this pandemic, this is why I returned to you. I wanted to come back to you, and I wanted to see you and give my story, my version, because I know for a fact I wouldn't be able to have done the kind of work I've done if I hadn't become a lawyer. But I'll also be very honest. the support that I had along the way,
Yes.
clearly my parents and
Yes.
clearly my siblings, but it was my husband.
Oh, wow.
Right?
I was going to come to that. Interesting guy. But I thought to myself, the day you got your law degree must have been just like the highlight of your parents' life and your life.
Well, my husband was there.
Oh, he was there
Yeah.
as well.
So what happened was, I was in Calgary at the time.
Okay.
So I did something quite unconventional back in those days. I had applied to law school and my parents didn't even know about it.
Wow.
They had no idea.
Okay.
So I was studying psychology and business admin at Simon Fraser. I'd done my first degree there and applied to law school. They had no idea. I got the letter of acceptance, and I recall my mom going, "You applied to law school?" Like, she had no idea. And my dad had some reservations because he knew, I think he was concerned that because it was a very male-dominated profession,
That you'd have a hard time.
I would have a hard time, and how would I sustain myself,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so I do remember that. I do remember that. And I've been with my husband, who's my best friend.
Yes.
Really, yeah. And
When did you meet him?
we met a long time ago.
Yes.
At 25, we've been together 25 years.
Oh, so when you came to interview me, you'd already met him.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and how did you meet him?
Through friends.
Okay.
Through friends.
Mom and dad didn't know about him.
You know, back in those days, we weren't allowed to date, right?
No, of course not.
So dating wasn't allowed for us. Plus, he's the eldest child.
Oh, I see.
So two eldest children coming from very traditional backgrounds.
Right.
It was.
It was a no-no in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So was it difficult to tell mom and dad about him? Who did you tell first? Mom, of course. Or siblings?
I think I told my siblings first.
Yeah, to see the,
Yeah.
to test the waters.
Because they were more modern. They were more modern. And then eventually, I think my mom figured it out.
Yeah.
I still remember my mom met him
Yes.
for the first time at my SFU convocation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
wow.
Gurdeep is a wonderful man. He
Well,
really
you know,
is.
when you talk about him, your eyes lit up. Your face looks fantastic.
Oh, no.
So you're still in love with him, which is very rare. I only see it in Osa and Chris, who've been married for God only knows how many years.
Oh.
But when they talk about each other, or if I am mad at Chris, Osa will stand up for him. She will not take my side.
This is a great team, right?
So meeting your soulmate, who then becomes your husband, must be just amazing.
You know, the thing about Gurdeep, and I was thinking about this, is that he is my best friend because he believed in me. He's always believed in me, right? And, you know, we came from incredibly humble backgrounds. And he, to me, is the greatest man that I've ever met because he's always genuinely happy when he sees me do good work.
Encouraging.
He's very encouraging. And so going back to my law degree, he was there. And he was the only one there. And he made that trip out there to come see me graduate. He's been at every milestone.
So this was in Calgary.
This was in Calgary.
Right.
And then we got married right after that.
And was it a big wedding? Was it a small wedding? How was it?
It was a traditional wedding.
Traditional big wedding.
Traditional big wedding. And so here's another thing.
Yeah.
I actually had never been to a full Indian wedding until my own.
Really?
Because I had always studied. So one thing, anybody that knows me from my childhood through my adolescent years knows that I always had a book with me.
So it must have been a shock for you that you had to sit for such a long time, all decked up for the, fere and the lawa and everything.
Well, at my wedding too, like there was a lot of tradition that there were some that I just didn't follow for myself. But I kind of went along with that. I was like, okay, I can
do this for
I
mom and
I
dad.
have to. I can do this. I got through law school. I can do this. So yeah, and Gurdeep was wonderful, right? He showed me every step of the way. So
That's beautiful. I want to take you to your current life and then kids and then future. But let's take a very short commercial break and come back. Navi is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Our Woman in Focus today is Navi Gill. She is a lawyer by profession. So beautiful story about you and your husband getting married. And so did you decide to settle in Vancouver or Calgary?
In Vancouver.
Yes.
So, but you know, here's the thing about if there's any young kids even watching this who are, yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
They do. And so one thing that I recall very early on was getting work.
Yes.
So there was a hiring freeze at that time. Market wasn't doing too well.
Right.
And I still remember this. I had gotten a job opportunity, my first one out of Smithers. And I'd just gotten married. And I accepted the posting without even having talked to him.
Oh, wow.
And I remember this very clearly because, you know, he had come home one day from work and I was like, I got a job. And he's like, where? And I go, Smithers. And he goes, where is that? And I go, I don't know, let's Google it. He goes, you accepted a job and you have no idea where it is. And we just got, and we just got married. And you're happy? And I go, yeah. And I go, that's okay. We could do it long distance. And he was like, well, no, we'll make this work. And he actually left his work
to go with you
to go with me to Smithers. And then he landed a great posting there too after.
I've got to meet this guy.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the thing about Gurdeep that has always. You know, I just have admired is that he will help,
yes.
He will sacrifice,
yes.
And he trusts.
You have to be, you know, in a relationship.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm noticing now.
I don't know about you, but I have found in the last several years, there's this toxic kind of energy,
yes.
right? That's happening, whether it's through social media,
yes.
or whether it's how people are interacting, the sense of competition that one has
yes.
right?
Yeah.
But you know, I always came from the school of thought of really great teachers, right? And I loved listening to them. But one of the things that I learned the most is always be tough on the argument, not on the person. Always strive to do your personal level best. That doesn't mean you have to turn to look to see what the next person is doing.
You don't have to make the person feel stupid or shame them. It's the argument that you should be staying on.
Correct. And it's also having studying the anatomy of trust.
Right.
So I'm quite fascinated with the anatomy of trust, resilience, and calm.
Very
right?
good.
Because those are concepts that that we need to go back and we really need to start reinforcing in the younger generation and reminding ourselves of that too, right? Going back and revisiting what's really important is mutual respect, right?
Exactly. And I guess you're teaching that to your two kids.
Well, what I've been teaching as well, right?
Yes.
So even when I went to Smithers, I started teaching immediately.
Right.
I was fascinated with the Indigenous culture, going out onto different villages, visiting people, hearing their stories, hearing what they're happy about, but also hearing what hurts them, and where they want to grow, you know? So
does that affect your work?
the work that I do, I really love.
Yeah.
Because it's hearing a story,
Yes.
right? The pain that I feel through the work, that's a reality.
Yeah.
But when I work with such amazing colleagues.
Yes.
And there's not a single person that I know that doesn't work hard. They work hard. They commit themselves to public service.
Yes.
Whether that's in teaching, in the teaching faculties that I'm in, whether it's in the other organizations that I belong to, or through various employers, right? There's a genuine place of wanting to see someone else be better, or get to where they want to be,
Right.
you know, and and I'm inspired. I try to keep myself around that every single day. It's hard work, though, for sure, right?
Well, your job is difficult. I mean, you've got to protect the public. You've got to protect your client. You've got to protect the profession itself, and yet be very truthful while you're doing all that. So, do you ever feel that I have let yourself down, or there was a time that it's getting too much for you?
Oh, look, and I remember you and I talking about this, about staying power. And that is the one thing I'll encourage any child that's watching this, any person that's watching this, that's contemplating, is that stay.
Yeah.
Right? In any industry, if you want to, like, for myself, if I want to gain credibility, and I say this to many people that I mentor, is that you've got to stay.
Yeah.
And that means you've got to be able to withstand scrutiny.
Right.
And you got to understand there's going to be criticism. And it's through that you're going to actually become better, right? But when you're going through it, it's very difficult, right?
For sure.
And I've gone through that, for sure. And always remembering the fundamental basics that if I'm going to respect others, I also have to respect myself.
For sure.
But being at the age and the stage that I'm at, that's one thing that I'm gauging now, is just knowing my limits, right? And even though I want to be limitless, I still know that I have to be realistic.
Navi, you are a limitless woman, and you will go so many different places. And I think we're going to have to do another interview with you so that we can talk about your future aspirations and what you see yourself in the next little while, and how you can mentor young women. And our community would really benefit from your resilience and the style that you have. So I thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And the reason why you see that in me is because you possess those qualities, right? You have to possess the qualities in order to see them in others. So I believe that. So thank you.
So thanks for being a woman in focus. And that brings us to the end of the show. How difficult was that now?
That was not very difficult at all. Thank you for having me.
And Navi has been our woman in focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back.